now pass over to Shi Yinhong, and the floor is yours.
And first of all, I want to pay my gratitude to the ICO Foundation and also to the Council of European Foreign Relations, as well as all of the audience come here, and especially the previous speakers. I think that the race brilliant and sharp speak. And I would like to talk here and from perspective or from some paradigm and the national grand strategy and the state's external strategy, of course, with China. And also I take a perspective of contemporary history in China. And so, first of all, what about strategy? What about grand strategy? And sometimes it's simple. You have to have two things and combined. One is fundamental national objective. And another is the fundamental way of how to pursue this national objective. And we, first of all, we had a great strategist, Deng Xiaoping. If you look at Deng Xiaoping and the national grand strategy, and his objective is very clear, limited. And this means compatible with China's national capabilities and resources. And he perceived, at that time, 30 years ago, and also his national objective is very concentrated. And at the same time, his fundamental way to realize his national objective is also very clear and very concentrated. For him, economic growth, GDP growth, and political stability, progressive stability, based on this, is all he advocated and practiced in China. And he have, compared with present leaders, he have a very advanced conditions. And because at that time, compared with now, in China's fundamental task, national task, was relatively simple. And also, and after the so-called disaster of Cultural Revolution, and the party and Chinese people at that time have easily shaped a consensus that is Mao's way to govern China shall not be, last longer. We shall focus our attention on economy, national attention on economy, on development. And also, and he enjoyed, the national consensus after the turmoil in 1989 happening in China. And the consensus is that China could not afford to have general chaos and stability based on economic growth and the rising of the people's living standard. And also he had a wonderful advanced condition, which today in today's China almost become luxury. He is a great strategist. And he's not far from anything like a bureaucrat or communist nobility or anything, and except, the brilliant, a great strategist. And so he brought China huge achievements based on his statecraft, based on his defined national objective, and according to the hard efforts of billions of Chinese people. And China now become drastically rising economic power, and as well as began to become a drastically rising military power. And we become number 2 in the world in terms of GDP and foreign trade. And so, and this is a historical dialectic. And achievements brought about problems. Great achievements brought about great problems. So you look at contemporary China. Now, principally, if you read all of the important documents of 18th Party Congress, and for the future, next 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, and I think that the national, the grand strategy objective is clear. But objectively, and this clear national objective for next 10 years or so, could not be so concentrated objectively. And because China now faces a lot of numerous fundamental dilemmas. You have to do this, while at the same time you have to do that. And this and that often, unfortunately, at least apparently, opposite. And fundamental situation become much more complicated than 20 years ago, even 15 years ago. And we face, our nation face, our Communist Party face, and government face numerous element dilemmas. At the same time, and what about the national consensus? What about consensus among elites? What about the consensus even, in fact, among, almost top leaders? Consensus is not so strong, not so solidified, not so clear, and much more ambiguous, and compared with Deng Xiaoping's years and even Jiang Zemin's years. And especially, everyone now talk about we should push reform. But what kind of reform? And reform what? And priority of reform. How to reform? I don't think that even among top leaders there is, the sufficient consensus, let alone among elites, let alone among people in the streets. What about the contemporary, the current Chinese foreign external strategy? I think our situation even less good than contemporary situation about the national grand strategy. And in foreign policy, in external strategy, today we have no clear, very clear national objective. And some people are obsessed with so-called wonderful G2 concept. And some people think that America is bad, and we should become, independent world power. And what about Asia, our neighbors? And this year's foreign policy, and foreign policy in 2010, and generally, and leave impression to our Asian neighbors and to the world. And toward the Asian neighbors, generally China become more assertive. And what about the military? And Chinese people not only want China economically strong, but they desire China become militarily strong. But outside the world have worries. And this worry is dramatically increased in the most recent years. And so what kind of China in the future should be? I don't think that at present, among leaders, among elites, among people, are very clear about that. And also how to realize, this unclearly defined national objective. I think that because China is so dynamic, world is so dynamic, we face so many new fundamental challenges and problems. And so today, we have no clear idea of how to deal with these problems, how to achieve our, still have not clearly defined national objective in the world. And how to deal with the drastically increased power and drastically, increased almost the popular nationalism. Big question, hard question. And how to deal with the United States, especially in the military and strategic rivalry area. I think that two fists, one is China, another United States. And in military and strategic field, I think that they become more tense potentially and in the future, and there is no answer, whether in Washington and Beijing, to deal with the historic increase of fundamental rivalry, military, between China and the United States. And also, how to deal with Asian neighbors. And it becomes so prominent. And we have a troubled periphery, and especially, and with Asian neighbors, at least some of them, territory dispute, maritime dispute. And also one problem emerging more and more prominent, how to make China the giant every terms, geographic terms, population terms, and grocery terms. How to make China the giant acceptable to smaller neighbors, especially in strategic and military fields. Hard question, and we still have no answer. And also, China had launched a vigorous overseas, go-out approach to establish our market, our minerals, our lease of oils in different continents, and bring a lot of money, a lot of influence to China, but at the same time, increasing cost, broadly defined. And I think that Louis very sharply raised the question. And so how to avoid so-called forced imperialism and begin with legitimate protection of China's legitimate interests, but by arms and by coercion. And you have more and more assets have to be protected. And increasingly often, diplomacy is not enough. And the people within the country appeal for harder and more assertive approach. And this is national forces. I think that, of course, China is special, but not so special. I think that Bismarck once in the 1890s faced this kind of national pleasure, and he failed at last. And so, and in future, what kind of Chinese foreign policy orientation? And this, I would like to say a little more abstract. And two questions. And what is China's strategic requirement? Because we face so many dilemmas, inner tensions. And I said that the lack of sufficiently clear national objective in the world. Second question is more important. And our leaders know strategic requirements much better than elites and people in the street. But they face increasing severe domestic restraints and international restraints, including US period, including Japanese nationalization of Ireland. And also, I think compared with Deng Xiaoping, we have a disadvantage. And maybe strategists become less real assets China have in this period. And we have more and more bureaucrat. And so I think that we have best hope for Xi Jinping and his associates. But objectively speaking, they have not been tested. And they have, compared with Deng Xiaoping and Xi Jinping with his father, I don't think that up to now we can say he's greater than his father. And so we have hope for China, and peaceful and constructive, and China, while can more effectively protect its interests and national honor. But our hope, my hope, is prudent, and at this stage is still limited. Thank you.